might have to let it drop. Let it drop. Let it drop. Let it drop. Drop.
And welcome into the JUCO Rush. I'm Mike Fraser. He's Robert Williamson. Signing day coming up Wednesday. A lot to cover here on the program. We've got special guests lined up as well. Robert Williamson, how are you?
Man, I'm doing great. I am excited about today's show because of what you've already mentioned, the fact that it's signing day, and it's not just signing day for JUCOs leaving. It is signing day for JUCOs coming in, plus the conversation we've got. You didn't say who with. Teaser, it's a good one coming up today as our interview with, can I go ahead and just say it? Can I let the cat out of the bag?
Go for it.
Dylan Dunn. This is a BYU guy who has decided he's going to play for Butler. He's coming up during today's show.
Yeah, boy, 6'3", just highly sought after quarterback. And he's going to bet on himself. He's going to come down to the JUCO ranks. He can stay a year, maybe two, and not lose any eligibility at the NCAA level. So he chose interesting. You know, you look at Hutch with Samari Collier. He leaves. You know, Hunter Deckers at Iowa Western. You look at what Kiyoshi Thomas does with Garden City. And he chose Butler. And it's funny, man, as soon as he went into portal, he said, you know, Bryce – Coach V, Bryce Vinery of Butler contacted him within 5 minutes, Robert, of him jumping in the portal.
I mean, Coach must have been sitting there just watching the portal. Okay, I'm beginning. But this guy threw for 3,700 yards as a senior in high school, something like 47 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He is the real deal and is going to be an impact player at Butler.
Yeah, and other guys too we're looking at. Guys that have not really decided. I mean, some guys that are just top 5, top 10, top 15 players in the country. I mean, I'm looking at some of the guys here on my end, Jesse Wilson, the defensive tackle for Snow. Here's a guy who's top 7 in the country at his position. He's still undecided. Signing day coming up Wednesday. How about the talented wide receiver at Kilgore, Samuel Mabaki? I mean, here's a guy, too, top 15 in the country, number 2 receiver in the country, according to, Rivals 247 and so on. Keon Brown, another one out of Iowa Western, top 15 guy, number 2, number 3 guy at his position. These guys all undecided, Robert. Now, look, a couple of guys did jump in. Brian Townsend, the talented running back in Independence, yesterday gave a verbal to Coastal Carolina, so he's off the board. Joseph Callies, the offensive tackle for Iowa Central, he's off the board as he decided to go to, Tarleton State. So, a couple of guys continuing to come off the board.
And two, you got folks like Jonathan Ashley, who is the lineman for Georgia Military College. To me, he's kind of got this approach of, hey, I may have already decided, but I'm going to let you guys know on the 5th of February.
Yeah, good for them. This is their moment. Let them handle it their way. They've earned it. They've worked for it. Let them handle it their way. Linebacker Ahmed Johnson signed with UL Lafayette a while back, the Iowa Western talented linebacker. The safety Devin Carlisle from Iowa Western gave a verbal to Middle Tennessee State recently. So, some guys are slowly falling off the board. Lance Carson at Holmes on the defensive side, he committed to Hawaii last week. So a lot of guys coming off the board. In fact, let me jump in. Let me go with my 6 guys right here. These are guys, some guys have signed, some are still deciding, but we've put a list together. My 6 guys, Robert has his 6. I'm going to start out with here Tony Mitchel, the safety, 4-star guy, signed with Mississippi State. comes out of East Mississippi Community College. Here's a guy that just was one of the top players, one of the top go-getters in the country, a 4-star guy, rated by 247 on the composite rankings when you factor in everything. So he's one of these guys that, man, what a catch for Mississippi State. Another guy, I talked about him, Jesse Wilson at Snow. There you go. Look at the numbers on him. 6'3", 325-pounder, still undecided, defensive lineman from Snow. There's a guy that is looking to make his call here in the next few days. Some other guys that have signed. Let's take a look here. Here's some video. Let's run some video here on Perry Cole out of Trinity Valley. Here's a defensive lineman, 3-star guy, only a freshman. I mean, you look at how agile he is. Here's a guy that was very successful at his position, 6'3", 255, can move really quick, and really was an impact and really helped Tavion Atkinson on that Trinity Valley defensive front. You know, Atkinson was one of the top sack guys in the country. Credit Perry Cole for taking up a lot of real estate for Atkinson to get free. But you see there, Perry Cole, just a talented football player. He, of course, signed with TCU back in December. Offensive lineman, we talked about Butler. Here's Bryce Simpson, 3-star guy up on that offensive line, just making it happen. You look at what he does, 6'6", 315 pounds. He's a redshirt sophomore. Here's a guy that really got the job done for Bryce Vinery and that Butler football team, as he turned out to be really a terrific player in that Butler program, which has a storied history over the years with national championships and moving quality guys at that offensive line position to the National Football League. Defensive end, Marshawn Oxley, Hutchinson. Here's another guy, just a stud. National champs. They knock off Iowa Western for the national championship. Here he stands 6'3", just an absolute stud. Sophomore. His last visit that we know of, about a week ago, we went over to West Virginia. The defensive end for Hutchinson, really a key factor at Hutchinson winning a national championship. And we talked about Hutchinson, 49-5 in the last 5 years under Drew Dallas. 5 straight conference titles. So Oxley, one of the big guns for the Blue Dragons. And then staying at Hutchinson here, how about this guy, Chendavian Bradley. I mean, 3-star redshirt freshman, 6'4", 242, defensive end, just electric. I mean, just look at the burst, how he can get out there. And you now know why Hutchinson is one of the top programs in the country. He is an Oklahoma State guy. He is signed with Oklahoma State as Chendavian Bradley. That's a heck of a pickup for them. But those are 6 guys that we wanted to talk about. Some signed and some did not sign, Robert, but those are 6 thoroughbreds right there.
Well, my 6, first of all, to figure out how I pick my 6, you'd have to get into this brain, which is really scary in itself, trying to figure that thing out. But one of the guys I want to highlight is A.J. Prim. He's a defensive lineman for Pearl River going to North Carolina State. He drew my attention because he's a Foley High School grad. Foley High is where Kenny Stabler, where Julio Jones played their football as well. Whoa. So A.J. Prim, that's some first-class football DNA going on at Foley. And he, of course, at Pearl River produced in a big way, 49 tackles, 9 for lost, 2.5 sacks, and a fumble recovery and interception as well. Might have been a little family tie to get him to North Carolina State because everybody and their brother tried to get him to come play college football for them. But Alex Falk, who is the director of recruiting there at North Carolina State, lived in Tylertown, Mississippi. That was where A.J. Prim was born. And then moved, by golly, to Foley, Alabama, where A.J. Prim played his high school football. So I'm thinking maybe there was a little influence to get him to North Carolina State. But my, they have got themselves a dandy. Now, this gentleman, Zach Salupe, gets my attention not because he in high school was 6'7" and 420. He has trimmed down to 365. But this is an Auckland, New Zealand native. Born in New Zealand, played his high school football in Australia, and has spent about 15 years of his young life playing rugby. And he's been signed with Arizona. So, Arizona signs him based on body size and rugby history. He was only in on 16 tackles at Garden City. But obviously, when you are 6'7" and you are 365, you're going to get a lot of guys' attention. And then talking about that DNA from various schools, Demonte Gaston, the 6'2" cornerback at 200 pounds from Hutch, going to Georgia State. Well, you might recognize the name of the school that he graduated from, Escambia. Escambia, the same school that produced one Waymon Jordan. So Demonte Gaston, an Escambia High School product in Pensacola, headed to Georgia State to play his collegiate football as a DB. Here's what I found ironic, though, is that he is going to be competing, apparently, as a DB at Georgia State with a guy who was on the other side of the football in that first semifinal football game in Georgia. He'll be taking on Chip Cooper, trying to beat him out for a spot. Chip Cooper, the quarterback at GMC. Now, on the offensive side of things, Mike, I think you will agree that, again, I mentioned it going in. My brain functions a little bit differently. I march to the beat of a different drummer. I'm focusing on a punter. Breck Chambers, who played his collegiate football at Blinn, who, by the way, was also an outstanding running back and DB in high school, has signed to play at the University of Texas San Antonio, averaging 45 yards per kick. The Crawford, Texas product, was a first-team All-American on the NJCAA as a special teamer. So Breck Chambers getting some love. Punters don't get that much love. I'm giving them some here.
You give it to them.
I know it, man. How about Saquon Miles, offensive lineman, Greenville, Alabama? That's only 70 miles from where I live and sit at this very moment. Greenville, Alabama is the school that also produced Zadarius Smith, who is the defensive end for the Detroit Lions. And I'm going to spring one on you. It also produced Tommy Lewis. And if you're wondering who in the heck Tommy Lewis is.
Yeah, who's Tommy Lewis?
Tommy Lewis, University of Alabama running back, 1954 Cotton Bowl. Alabama and Rice playing. Rice is up by 1. Running back breaks free down the sidelines. Lewis, a running back for Alabama, came off the sidelines and tackled him. So that's how Greenville High School is famous. But they've got some great football there. And, man, this guy, Saquon Miles, 6'6", 300 pounds, played at Hines. He's got the attention now of Mississippi State. He's a first-team All-MACCC. He's an NJCAA All-American. This guy is the real deal. And Saquon Miles from Greenville High is now headed to Mississippi State. And the last of my 6, DeMarco Blanton, a 247 number 8 receiver. He is a Southwest Mississippi product and is headed to Arkansas State, become a Red Wolf. And he is a quality player that is going to make an impact for the Red Wolves at Arkansas State, which, by the way, has been kind of a familiar stopping point for a lot of guys in junior college football, especially from the state of Mississippi.
Oh, looking at Southwest, Robert, you look at those 3 wide receivers. You just mentioned one, DeMarco Blanton. They had Jordan Scott back there, Florida State commit. Then you throw in Marcellus Jackson, a freshman who had a great year. So, yeah, what a job the Bears did down there in Summit, Mississippi, and landing 3 just outstanding receivers.
Well, that sit down, we teased it at the front of the show with a guy who played for BYU, or at least was on the team at BYU a year ago. Mike Frazier, Dylan Dunn is impressive. I mean, you look at the numbers he put together as a senior in high school and the attraction he got at the collegiate level before deciding to go to BYU. This guy's the real deal.
Oh, he is. What a signing for Butler to get him in there. Look, they had to find a quarterback. Butler did, and they did. I mean, regardless of what numbers, the numbers are going to be good by Dylan. They needed a quarterback. They got one. That signing puts Butler right in the hunt automatically for a conference championship. And with that quarterback signing in Dylan Dunn, here's a guy that bet on himself. He's coming back into the JUCO route. You like that, Robert, because he could play 1 or 2 years at Butler, go on, not lose any eligibility at going on to the NCAA. So absolutely, Robert, this is really one of the big splashes here in the off season for a junior college team to sign this guy.
And you and I had an opportunity to sit down and talk with Dylan Dunn.
Dylan, first of all, before we talk about your time here at Butler in the last couple of weeks, let's go back to your days when you jumped on with BYU. What were the reasons you went to BYU when you had schools like Kansas State and others that were also chasing you? What was most attractive about BYU?
BYU ran offense that I thought I could fit in really well. The environment, obviously, there's nothing like LaBelle Edwards Stadium. And so it was just a great environment, great coaches, and it was just good environment.
Dylan, you entered the transfer portal and received an offer from Arkansas State, but you decided to go to Butler and the JUCO route. Questions mixed into why. Why not Arkansas State? And did the fact that they've got a quarterback coming back for his third year who has thrown for about 5,000 yards and Jalen Rayner, did that have any impact on your decision not to go with the Red Wolves?
Maybe a little bit. I thought going to here to Butler, I would have the quickest opportunity to compete for a starting spot and get some film. But yeah, that's what kind of factored into my decision to go to Butler. But the staff at Arkansas State was great. I appreciated them, and yeah.
Well, give us some of those other deciding factors to go to Butler. I mean, did the fact that, hey, they've been in, 6 national championships over the last 30, 40 years. They were 7-4 a year ago, were the only team that put a blemish on the now national champion Hutchinson team. So were those factors? If not, what were they in heading to Butler?
Oh, of course. Butler's been a powerhouse for forever. And so, yeah, that definitely had a big factor. Coach V's got a great surrounding staff around with them, and just guys that would help me grow and develop at this level. And I would have a chance to compete early for the starting spot. That's also what factored in. And just the guys around me, I feel like this year we're set to have a big year. We got a lot of guys that redshirted last year, and I think we can do some damage this year in the conference.
Dylan, is your plan to play 1 year at Butler and then jump back in with FBS?
Right now, I'm going to take it one day at a time. My goal right now is just to go win football games and throw touchdowns at Butler, and wherever that takes me is wherever that will take me.
The JUCO route, just your thoughts, your opinion on junior college football from across the NJCAA landscape.
Oh, you got guys going everywhere. D1, I mean, you got athletes everywhere. Like, guy on my team, he's committed to Georgia next fall. So, JUCO ball is legit. We got players, especially where we play at Butler and the conference that we play in. You'll see good players at the JUCO level.
Dylan, I feel like you're kind of the missing component for Butler. I mean, you look at their stats last year, passing-wise, their top quarterback threw for 700 yards. You take all 3 quarterbacks who got playing time a year ago, and they threw for 1,600. You, as a senior in high school, throw for 3,700 yards. Do you feel like you might be indeed that missing component where Butler is concerned?
That's what I'm going to try to be this season, be that missing piece, and hopefully we can do something that hasn't been done here at Butler before. And with the guys around me, I believe that we'll be able to do that.
Well,
What
you've
was
also got a fellow by the name of, I don't know if you're young, I'm old, but there was a fellow by the name of Zach Mettenberger who played for a year at Butler, left Georgia, comes to Butler, plays a year, turns it into 2 years at LSU, and then eventually into the NFL. So there's some good DNA there at Butler quarterback-wise.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Dylan, what about who specifically recruited you to Butler? I mean, I know Bryce was a big part of it, but what about from a position coach standpoint?
Yeah, I was talking to Coach Mess a little bit before that, but right as I entered the transfer portal, 5 minutes, I got a call from Coach V right away. And so Coach V has always been recruiting me since out of high school, and he's a guy that's really wanted me. And I have a lot of respect for Coach V. I think he's a great coach, runs a great system, and we kind of think alike in a lot of ways.
Dylan referring to Bryce Vinery, the head coach for Butler. What did he tell you? How did he sell you? What did he say to you that convinced you to come to Butler to play football?
He told me that we got something special this year. And just being 2 weeks even here, you can tell there's an energy around here, and we just got guys that are ready to go, and you can just feel the momentum just building with us. And that's something that I wanted to be a part of, and I think Coach V is a great coach to lead us there.
How about from a footwork standpoint? How's your footwork? What does Coach V and his staff say? How can they make you better from a mechanics standpoint?
They can certainly help me with my timing, some of my footwork stuff, and having a new perspective and learning from Coach V. I mean, it's always great to learn from a lot of different football minds to see, maybe what I could do better or how I can improve. And I think he knows how to do it.
I don't think this is a good analogy, or maybe it is, but do you almost feel kind of like a minor league baseball player who has made it to the big leagues in going to BYU? And maybe I don't want to refer to it as the minor leagues again, but you've gone to a league that allows you to develop those skills even more so. I mean, does it kind of feel like that?
Maybe a little bit, but at the same time, I mean, we still got guys going everywhere, and I think maybe a little bit development, but I think I'll be still getting great competition while I'm playing here at Butler.
You realize one team in that conference, Hutchinson, defending national champs, they've gone 49-5 in the last 5 years, 5 straight KJCC titles, and 2 national championships. So that's the bar. I know you know that, you follow football, but man, that's a league. Iowa Western comes down from the great state of Iowa. You'll face them again. Of course, Garden City, a long-standing. I mean, you are really jumping into the Lions' Den here, jumping in that conference. Have you been able to grasp that and understand that, just how tough your schedule is going to be?
Oh, for sure. Every single week is going to be a grind. We got to go in every single week, going 1-0 mentality, and this Kansas football, this league is no joke. I mean, it's going to be a grind, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting.
Well, Dylan, thanks for jumping on the JUCO Rush. We really appreciate your time. Looking forward to watching you play, my man. And, seeing we know what you can do. We've seen the film, so we're excited for you, and we wish you all the best.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
And again, thanks to Dylan Dunn for jumping on, the JUCO Rush quarterback for Butler, enrolled. He will be that quarterback for Butler. Let's see what everybody else does on Wednesday. But, man, that's a big, big, big signing for Butler, Robert.
I'm reiterating the point. I think I've done it multiple times now in the show, but I really, really think this guy is a difference maker for Butler. I think he automatically puts Butler in the talk of top 4, top 5 in the country in the preseason polls come August.
Man, that's stout. You're going top 4, top 5. Okay, let's see what everybody. Maybe you might be getting a little bit ahead of yourself there. Let's just see what everybody else does here next week. But you're right. Look, that is a quality quarterback that they have. But do you not? You are. Yeah. I mean, you got Hutch still. They're going to get guys. Iowa Western's going to grab guys. I think, man. But you're out there, man. That is a tall call right there. Top 5. I was willing to say top 15 in the country. for Butler. Man, Robert, because you've got 14 Mississippi schools, you've got other Kansas schools, Texas. What about love for the Texas schools? Huh? What about Willie down at Kilgore? What about Tyler? Or what about Tanner Jacobson at Tyler? I mean, wow.
I love those guys. I love Texas. I love Georgia. I love Mississippi. But where you're talking about a marquee player who is going to make an immediate impact, I don't know that you can get much bigger. I don't care who they sign on Wednesday. You're talking about a guy that's already got a resume in place, with the fact that not only at the high school level, but also at the collegiate level. You walked on at BYU, made the team, and now you've decided to come to Butler. There are going to be some great quarterbacks signed on the 5th by JUCO. I just don't know that there'll be any better. There might be some as good or almost as good, but I'm thinking maybe not better.
So then by saying that, you'll have Butler then the second best team in your preseason poll out of Kansas.
Did not say that.
Out of Kansas.
Okay, out of Kansas.
You'd have Hutch one, right? You'd have Hutch in front of Butler, and then you'd have Butler, I would think, right?
I think that's a pretty good start for the Kansas season. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that I could go down that track with you on there. Now where they fall, obviously, we got to wait and see what everybody else does. But Iowa Western's going to be there. Hutch will be the preseason number 1. They're the national champs. So you're looking at Butler, Iowa Western. You look at, let's see, where else? You go down to Texas. Boy, it's wide open down there. Every year it changes. I'm curious to see what Nimi does with their signing, with Oliver Sukup down there. So we'll see. Of course, Tanner Jacobson at Tyler, Willie at Kilgore, the usual suspects that are competing down in the great Texas League, Navarro. I mean, man, what they continue to do, Navarro, I should say. Then you got a bunch of Mississippi schools. So, yeah. All right, we'll see.
Well,
see.
Now let me throw this into the mix. Let's consider a year ago when they lost by only 3 to Northeastern Oklahoma A&M. They lost a forfeit game. They lost Coffeyville by 1 score. The only team that really wiped them out was Iowa Western, and that was 1 year ago without a Dylan Dunn at the helm. So
you're right. And look, Seven Cloud is back on the defensive end. He's going to be a JUCO Weekly Trophy preseason favorite. I mean, that guy's a rock star. Georgia guy, bounce back, comes down there. Kirby was just down at Butler last week talking to Seven Cloud. So, boy, they've got some thoroughbreds down there, no doubt. And he's got that. Bryce got that quarterback. Needed that quarterback. There was such a missing component, and he found it. He found it in Dylan Dunn. No doubt about it, Robert. So I'm with you. I think they'll be the number 2 team out of Kansas. Where they fall in the top 5, I don't know. Time will tell. But, man, you go out there, and I applaud you for that. You put your chin out there, kid.
Well,
you got a tough chin, too, because you're going to take some hits on that one.
Well, and it's got some thick hair, though, so, I can cover up the bruises. Hey, while we're talking about quarterbacks, let's go to the undecideds and talk about a quarterback that surprises me that he is still out there as an undecided, and that is Landon Barnes of Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Yeah, he just picked up an FBS offer here in the last couple of days. We'll see how that shakes out for him. A couple of guys that have signed or have committed. Running back Brayon Townsend from Independence. He gave a verbal to Coastal Carolina this past weekend. Offensive lineman Joseph Callies from Iowa Central. He gave a verbal to Tarleton State. And then a couple other guys here. Let me pull up the numbers here. Linebacker Ahmed Johnson. This is a bit old, but we still want to mention it. Iowa Western. He signed with UL Lafayette. And then safety Devin Carlisle of Iowa Western gave a verbal to Middle Tennessee State a while back. Those are some of the recent guys. But, Robert, really, the rest of these guys are still undecided. Really curious about these 2 guys here. Sammy from Kilgore and Keon from Iowa Western. Those are 2 of the top 15 receivers in the country.
Indeed, and also I'm curious about Marshawn Oxley from Hutch. But I guess come Wednesday, this sheet, which now has just a handful of schools by names, will have schools by every name.
And look, I misspoke. When I say Keon Brown and Sammy Mabaki of Kilgore, not top 15 wide receivers. They're top 15 players in the country at their position. They're top 3, top 4 guys that are left on the board right now in the country when it comes to, heck, throw California in there. These guys are top top guys in the country, yet undecided. So, yeah, signing day is Wednesday. We'll find out. Some of it will trickle out, Robert, between now and then. But the big one is Wednesday, signing day, where these guys are going to go. And then also, let's see what inventory that these coaches bring in to replenish the rosters. I mean, what's Drew Dallas going to do? I mean, look at what he lost. Look at what Stroh lost at Iowa Western. Look at what Tanner Jacobson lost at Tyler. And everybody has these issues. But I'm just off the top of my head, those are 3 schools that really delivered. How about Navarro? Look what they've lost. They got to fill Thievnen, a quality running back. He leaves. Tim Burns, he leaves. The SWJCFC Offensive Player of the Year. They lose Mason Shore, who was just dynamite down the stretch for Navarro. And, man, let's see what these guys pull in since casting the net here a few months ago.
But here's the confidence I have in them. They've been here before. We've been saying these same things in years gone by with them losing so many guys. I mean, who are they going to bring in? What are they going to have? Right now, I'm now convinced they're going to have somebody, and they're going to be good.
Yep, that is for certain.
Well, that is it for this week's show. Mike, always a pleasure to chat with you, and I cannot wait for next week. I mean, we're going to be talking about a lot of new personnel, where they've gone to, or those at the high school level who have come in, or from the transfer portal who have come into these junior colleges, and that we will be seeing frequently on a gridiron next year. Can't wait for the show.
And as we head out here on this show, we're going to put up here's a list of a lot of the players, not everybody, but a lot of the players that have signed over recent weeks and are moving on to senior colleges and universities. For our producer, Blake, for Robert Williamson, I'm Mike Frazier saying so long, everybody.